Is the LEGO Technic McLaren Formula 1 race car set number 4141 the single greatest presentation piece ever? Let's find out. Despite being primarily a display piece, this set actually has some pretty cool functions. At the end of this review, we will look at 5 fun facts about the real counterpart, so make sure to stick around till the end. But first, let's start with the box. It has the 18 plus design, and there is really nothing special about it. 3 sticker sheets, 2 of the new 3x19 Technic frames, brand new panels, and 4 of the tumbler tires. Unfortunately, we don't get specialized tires for the McLaren. The build begins with a differential in a Technic frame. This one cannot be locked with driving rings, so the McLaren will not have differential locking. We connect some extensions which will hold the portal wheel hubs. They are just directly connected to the differential. We build the following module which reinforces the wheel extension. We then secure this spinning part on top, which will be part of an awesome mechanism. Watch this part very carefully. We connect a 1x9 Technic link onto the red ball pin, which is near the portal hub, and we attach it to the little spinning thing. This is actually how the pushrod suspension will work. It is truly a fascinating mechanism that was also present in previous Formula 1 Technic cars. We connect the shock absorbers and it becomes perfectly clear how the suspension actually works. The following frame structure simply connects to the chassis, expanding it forwards. We further reinforce the chassis with another small module. Now, we build the V6 engine. It is always nice to look at the moving cylinders. We simply connect it to the chassis and the differential becomes directly connected to the engine. The only gear ratio here is the 90-degree connection, which is 20/28 or 5/7. The first bag is complete. We begin the second stage with the front portion of the car, and we already have the steering mechanism in place. Now we build the following shock absorber module and simply connect it to the front chassis. We also add another Technic frame to expand it. We add some lift arms for the pushrod mechanism. It is very similar to how the rear pair of wheels is done. We add the portal wheel hubs on both sides, connect it with a Technic link, and we can clearly see the pushrod mechanism in action. We add a tiny little module onto the wheel hubs, and this module actually uses a black 2-stud axle. It has finally returned in Technic sets. Now can we please get some black 3-stud pins again? It would make all the models look much better. We then add the brand new Technic panels, which represent the front fenders. We then add some Technic links to connect the steering mechanism to the front wheels. We add the steering yoke, and now we can clearly see the steering mechanism in action. We expand the chassis using a 3x19 frame, connect a curved panel which represents the seat, and secure everything with another Technic frame. We then add a bigger frame to reinforce everything. Now comes the fun part. We connect the front chassis to the rear chassis, merging the two together. This is clearly a very long car, and the second stage is complete. The third bag begins by adding some Technic panels to the back, and this stage is really more about the decorations and finer details of the set. We build the bottom half of the spoiler and simply connect it to the car. Now, we expand the chassis sideways with some Technic panels. It reminds me a lot of how the chassis was built in the LEGO Technic Ferrari. The following blue panel module is quite interesting since we do get the Lamborghini tapered panel in a new color for this piece. We connect the module onto the car and we do the same thing on the other side. We build a nice little module with some pneumatic extenders, but they're actually used to hold the small system flaps in place. This is a pretty creative building technique. Next, we build up the iconic front of the car with a very interesting panel structure. It's definitely the most creative use of panels I've seen in a Technic set. We then add a helicopter blade to the back, and the third stage is complete. The next part is all about the top of the car. We just add a few orange panels here. Next, we add some more panel modules to really finish everything nicely. We add the top portion of the spoiler. Now, we need to finish building the final module. It uses a very clever combination of system and Technic pieces. We add it onto the car, put the wheels on, finish it off with the covers, and we can finally take a look at the functions. For me personally, the best part of the set is easily the pushrod suspension. It is a pretty rare mechanism to get in LEGO Technic, and it works absolutely beautifully. We have fully independent suspension on all 4 wheels. There is a Technic linker that transfers vertical motion into horizontal motion. This is how you're able to have horizontally placed shock absorbers be responsible for the vertically moving wheels. We also get the working steering, which does connect to the yoke. We do not get hand of God steering, but that is okay considering it is primarily a display piece. The third function is the V6 engine, which is just directly connected to the rear pair of wheels with a differential. I do appreciate that you're actually able to see the moving pistons. However, this car car does have a ton of empty space in the chassis. The full height of my fingers can fit completely in the chassis. There definitely could have been some sort of transmission in the McLaren. However, this set will definitely be quite easy to modify and make remotely controlled. I will be doing exactly that, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you are the first person to get my free instructions on making the Formula 1 car fully remotely controlled. No pressure though. The primary focus of this Technic model is not functionality. The much smaller all-terrain vehicle packs a lot more Technic functionality. As a display piece though, I do think that this model is nearly perfect. The clever uses of various panels and the orange and blue color scheme is just so unique. I would even argue that this is the best looking Technic car of all time. The Bugatti or the Lamborghini also look fantastic, but there's just something magical about the beauty of a Formula 1 McLaren that is simply unbeatable. That being said, there are still some minor flaws I would like to point out. These are not issues if you never play with the car and just keep it as a display piece. There are some panels, like the one with the Dell sticker at the front, which are loosely connected and can move a little bit. The panels in the middle here can be squished, but pretty much any Technic set will have this flaw. Plastic is simply not that strong and it's really a minor nitpick. At the back, there is also a system brick here which can be disconnected very easily, so be careful with the set as it does have a tendency to lose some small system pieces while you're playing with the car. The set does work as a display piece, and my favorite parts in terms of the aesthetics have to be the spoiler as well as the very creative front. This is just such a presentable LEGO Technic set, but I do wish it had a bit more functionality like a gearbox. If your main goal is to have a beautiful display piece, then I highly recommend the LEGO Technic McLaren Formula 1 race car. You will definitely be satisfied with the many creative techniques involving panels and just the overall aesthetic of the car. However, if you prefer Technic functionality over the looks, then I would go with either the transformation vehicle or the all-terrain vehicle. Both of those have much better playability and they're also much cheaper. Now, the legendary car expert will tell you 5 fun facts about the real counterpart, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello everybody, this is Julian, formerly known as the LEGO Geek. Today I'm sharing with you guys 5 facts about the MCL36, which is obviously the brand new McLaren F1 for the new F1 season. Let's start off with the chassis, which is made of carbon fiber composite, which makes the car very light. And obviously, if your goal in F1 is to not make your car light, I don't know what you're doing, but you're definitely not doing it right. This makes the car weigh around 763 kilograms. Just assuming, I believe that would translate to around 1,500 pounds. If I'm wrong, yell at me in the comments. I don't care, but that's just, something interesting about all the F1 cars is that they find ways to make these cars weirdly light. But fact 2, the transmission is an 8-speed plus 1 reverse sequential semi-automatic. This allows the driver to have seamless shifting. It's unbelievable how good these transmissions are, knowing obviously F1 and McLaren, and these transmissions are basically flawless and probably the smoothest shifting known to any car. It's a nice transmission, and obviously, I don't know what the previous one was. You don't find this in every car, and obviously F1s aren't every car. They make unbelievable horsepower. Fact number 3, McLaren has been in every season of F1 since 1966. And if you don't know, the man who founded McLaren, his name is Bruce McLaren. What a surprise. And it's thanks to him, it really started a legacy, and he passed away in 1970 testing one of his own cars for the Can-Am series. This car was called the M8D. What happened was it got way too, not to, get all depressing, but the car got way too tail heavy. Leaving the pits, he was going about 170. Like I said, the car got way too tail heavy and just picked up and flipped him over, and he passed away on the spot. And really, this kind of started a legacy for McLaren, and I'm sure it definitely motivated them to dominate. Obviously, I don't know how they did that year. Number 4, McLaren in the F1 racing has 183 wins ever. Once again, I don't know if that's good or not, but knowing McLaren, I know they have good drivers. I see them on articles a lot. Just 183 wins for a company is definitely good, especially for the name. But when it comes down to McLaren, when you have such expensive cars like the Elva, I think it's 2 point something million dollars. No matter how much advertising you make, there's no way you're gonna just sell this to the normal average person. Though obviously the cars are still cool. Fact 5, the final one, obviously the most important one to me because it's the engine. F1 M13E. This is made by Mercedes. It is a 1.6 liter, obviously for very minimal. It's a V6 turbo, charged, obviously. And this engine, it's absurd. This is probably the average for F1, but this engine makes 15,000 RPM, which is just absurd. The average, sports car, quote unquote, like the brand new C8 Corvette, makes around 8,000 RPM, and that's amazing. If you couldn't tell, it blows my mind. I mean, just okay. Thank you, Unbrick Me, for letting me come on your video. And
that is very interesting information about the car, and please make sure to subscribe to both his channel as well as mine. I'll have his channel linked in the description as well as the pinned comment of this video. This is your Unbrick Me here, and I'll see you in the next one.